A woven crown of thorns was forced on Jesus' head by his Roman captors. It was an instrument of perverse mockery and malice, taking a symbol of royalty and majesty and turning it into something painful and degrading. Yet the irony is that the crown of thorns symbolizes deliverance from sin by the King of Kings. That's why it's needed in a resurrection display. So, what did the crown look like? Well, no one really knows for sure what plant was used. There were so many thorny plants in and around Jerusalem at the time that would have made an excellent crown of thorns. So what do I use? Texas is home to a whole host of thorny and thistly plants, some right out in my backyard. I never thought I'd be excited about that. So walk with me and I'll show you how I use several thorny plants to create a crown of thorns. The good thing about spring is that most plants are putting on fresh new growth, so I can easily select a tender, twistable, thorny branch. Vines and bushes will be a perfect mini crown. Here is a thriving blackberry bush with lots of fresh growth, which is really nimble. I'm going to cut off a branch and place the cut end in a cup of warm water. We call this burr, which grows along fence lines. It's a super annoying plant, but one that has really good thorns. And lastly, I'm going to clip off a few branches from a wild dewberry bush. Once inside, I'm going to submerge the branches in warm water for an hour or two, just to soften them up a bit. How large am I going to make my crown of thorns? Well, you can use a village figurine or a cross to help scale it. Honestly, though, it can be however large you want it. I started off by trimming off rogue branches and leaves. There are thorns on the berry bush, so I trimmed off the leaf portion and left the stem for wrapping around the crown. Oddly, on these berry bushes, there are thorns on the underside of the leaves, so I'm trimming off all of the leaves and leaving that stem intact. So I begin by bending the branch to gauge if any parts aren't pliable. If it's not bending with ease, I'm snipping it off. I thought that swirling the branch inside of a lid would be a great way to get that curve, but I found that the lid broke off the thorns. So my best bet was fashioning the circle by hand. The shape was held by twisting the branches. A word of caution, I didn't wear gloves because I'm quite familiar with these plants. I've used them in a Halloween village, and I also garden in and around them, so I know how much pressure to use and what handling angles to avoid stabs through the skin. Consider wearing gloves to avoid any injury. All in all, the thinner the stem, the more flexible. The dewberry was the easiest to work with. It was the winner out of all of these. The burr was the hardest to bend, and I think that's because the stem was thicker. Here are my 4 crowns of thorns. I'll let these dry out for a few days, and once dry, I'll spray them with matte finish to help the thorns stay intact. So, which one will look the best in the Resurrection Village? Well, you'll have to tune in and see.